all your loves.
And in some of the other chats. And based on what we've gotten and some of my own personal thoughts is that I think a lot of people have been wanting the matchmaker to go back to the tier-based system that was being used before, and basing it on hanger levels. And previously, the complaint was that that created seal clubbing and that people were using the 412 Jeopard and just squishing everyone and going to bronze and squishing everyone as well. And that was the reason one of the reasons anyway, that we changed the entire matchmaker, created the leagues. But some of that could have been avoided even with just tweaking the better balances and for the different tiers, rather than allowing 412. At least a different matrix would have allowed people to still enjoy the speed of the game, and still allowed for custom matches in the way that some of these people have already mentioned. I also have to say that the matchmaker has killed quite a few clans. From what I've been seeing and from what I've been hearing, because the individual players grow at different paces. And previously, it was okay for an entire clan to be made up of different people of different levels of the game, because the higher level players could still just buy a Destrier and go down and play with their new players, and bring them up and still create a community. However, the community is being lost because now people can't play together within these clans. You are forced to find people of the same tier or of the same league in order to play together. And the ironic part is that even with people being in the same league, their weapons and their hangers are still not the same in many cases. And we're seeing that as a result of tanking as well. I can be in the silver league and have a completely maxed hanger. I could have tanked my way there and just destroy everyone there and get my easy gold. And at the same time, this guy with a 9/9 hanger is somewhere in the gold tier instead, struggling away. So it has not actually created any kind of equality, because if we really want to talk about being able to see skill, you need to see the skill when everyone is having the same level of weapons. So if that is the case, we need to find a way to have matches with same level weapons, same level bots even, and balance it out before you can really determine an ELO, LO or a league system that is true to what we really want to see. And to be very frank, I agree with what Asander was just saying about the fact that the point system has stressed people out so much that some people just don't want to play. They're scared to play because they're scared to even lose their ranking and their placement in certain cases. And he was right. I totally agree with what he said about the feeling of being punished for the losses due to a bad player or due to a bad situation. So I don't really like the way the league system is being tweaked right now. One of the other things which is involving the matchmaker, but yet not involving at the same time, will be to do with the communication that Pixonic has with the rest of the community. For example, the tanker queue, we sometimes are not sure what exactly is required to get into the tanker queue. I know sometimes we purposely make it vague so that people don't exploit it, but there's this weird balance right now where we're not sure where things are going. We're not sure what happens or what we should do if we get into that queue. And even with communication and how things are being played out, such as getting beacons, the importance of beacons, the importance of how to win, the importance of how to upgrade, even. If not, personally speaking, if not for the forums and the wiki which I found, I would have probably given up the game in the early stages of me playing, because if I had followed the advice which the game gives me about how to upgrade my weapons, I would probably have died and stopped playing the game. So I think transparency and communication is quite important in how you guys tell us about the matchmaker, not just us as like insiders or people in Discord, but to the general gaming public. Because I think Shaolin Rogue was just saying early on before the thing even started that we in general are just a drop in a huge ocean of these players, and not everyone is going to play like an hour. Even I don't play that much. I have kids, I have work, but at the same time, I enjoy the game. I enjoy the community. Some people I know spend more time on the forum and online chatting than sometimes actually playing the real game. And you guys have an amazing game and an excellent game here that has created a community which I haven't seen on a mobile platform game before. But at the same time, people are kind of demoralized right now because of the way the matchmaker is going. And I do agree with a lot of people that you should have certain boundaries. If I am a gold player, I should not be having to face an expert. Oh, sorry, not expert. If I'm a gold player, I shouldn't be having to face champions, or I shouldn't be having to face masters. And I should only face maybe like one tier down and one tier up, or one league up and one league down. The problem right now is that even those leagues don't help the situation, because you could have really diverse amounts of hangers and hanger levels within that. And someone with 5 Lancelots tanks his way down into gold and destroys everyone, but it's fine because that's his league and the matchmaker agrees to that. So that's one of those things. And my final point would be that the clan ranking system and the league system should be separate, because right now, because of the way the matchmaker is, many folks are only high ranked because they're squatting, and the squatting has become such a desperate thing in this current matchmaking environment and atmosphere that solo players are struggling, and that has caused a lot of again, demoralization and even fear of playing solo. That is actually lowering the amount of playtime a lot of people are having, and discouraging people from being from playing unless they happen to be in a clan, which requires them to have the same level or the same league. And so there's so many more conditions in order to play and be successful in this game now than previously, when it was just a bit more fun and a bit more freedom in how the game was played. I do agree that that changes were needed or improvements were needed, but I do think that it probably could have been done better, and maybe you just got to figure out what kind of values and what kind of vision you have for the future, because we thought we were getting a game which we could have that freedom to move around and different levels. But if we wanted to have it that linear, then maybe that just needs to be communicated so that we do know what we're in for. That being said, I do agree with everyone. Having a custom match system for clan matches and for people to play what they want at the level they want with who they want would really solve a lot of the problems. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And next one will be Shaolin Rogue. I'm looking for Shaolin Rogue on the list, and I'm turning your mic on. Hello.
Hello. Thank you. And first, I'd like to thank our host for extending the invite to the forum community, specifically, as well as everyone else for taking their time out to meet here today. I have an account that is currently in Silver 3. I've dipped into Silver 2. But in addition to that, I've also started a couple of extra accounts for various reasons. So one of them I started after the league system hit. So I've got a full picture going through. And I have to admit, for a new player coming up, it is very discouraging at times. I think I was still in either recruit or private league the first time I dropped into Shenzhen and was confronted with a twin trebuchet Rajin. That's a lot of workshop points for a Columbus Cossack to try and fight. And that happens routinely on and on and on. It seems that the way the current matchmaker system is, you'll get some good fair matches for a while, and like everyone else has said, you get punished for your success and immediately get the beat down and slide back down the ladder. Now, I'm going to focus more on the matchmaker stuff first and then get back to, like everyone else is talking about, the hanger system, because what was mentioned that speaks to me and a lot of people on the forums is this is a mobile game. So while for somebody like myself who's into progression, I don't mind difficulty, The majority of the player base needs to, grab a game while they're waiting for their kids outside, picking them up from school, in between classes, whatever the case may be. And the new matchmaker and league system has now made it a very linear progression model. On my newest account, I ascertained that the smartest thing that somebody can do is go with Cossacks, then Griffins, maybe pick up a Carnage, and you've got an endgame viable hanger as quick and cheap as possible, no fuss, no muss. And that winds you missing, or you end up missing out on so much depth and enjoyment with all the various weapons and bots in the games that I got to experience when I leveled up my first account. So I've seen both sides. And I have to say the previous experience was the far superior game experience, and that's what got me so involved in both the game and the community. As far as Matchmaker goes, there are some common opinions for some quick fixes that are the most important things that need to be done if we're keeping this system. First off, new players need protection. So there should be a boundary set, whatever's deemed appropriate, like level 15 or maybe higher, so that new players cannot be put into the lever queue because they're exposed to some of the worst manipulators in the game when they're tossed in there, and they don't understand enough to know what's going on. They just wind up in there, and all of a sudden they're facing insurmountable odds, and it's going to be very discouraging. Also, sorry, I'm having to cherry pick from my notes because so much has already been covered here. In regular matches, like everyone else has said, the matches need to be tighter. And so what we've checked with the community as well is people have indicated they're willing to wait longer for Matchmaker to make matches, up to a minute even, before it starts reaching outside of whatever's deemed as a reasonable range for making matches. And even to the point where some have said they'd rather be in a 5v5 or a 4v4 with the odd person being tossed back in the queue, rather than having, 2 or 3 very high or very low level players stuck in there just to fill the match. Also, in terms of to discourage clubbing, the best solution immediately would probably be to make the rewards that you get scale better as you progress through the leagues, so that it'll make tanking and ditching down to lower levels be an inefficient way to gather resources, and you'll be much better off playing a few matches in the highest level tiers that you can, because your rewards are going to come in that much faster. If you remove the incentive to game the system and make it not worthwhile, then people just simply won't do it. Other than that, those are the quick things with Matchmaker that, if they were fixed, would really go a long way to make people more palatable with this system. But long term, I think your incentive to put in different game modes would be a great way to retain the players that are being turned off from this, competitive style of gameplay. So having one of those alternate game modes, again, be a hanger-based tier system, even if it's for little or no rewards, for all of the reasons that everybody's covered, being able to play with family and friends, train clanmates. And I just want to touch too on, just for a casual player, it doesn't even necessarily mean that they're not going to experience much of the game and just do it at a slower rate. Because of the old system, I stopped at around halfway through the progression and tried absolutely everything, which led me to spend money on gold because I wanted to try this, I wanted to try that, and it takes too long to get the resources for everything. With the new system, I don't have to spend a dime. I can very efficiently go straight to only the best choices, minimizing my investments, and I can actually probably progress faster because I won't be tempted to waste time at a certain level, investigating things, buying stuff that I like. And having that sort of a system will appeal to that other type of player, the experimenter, the collector, who will, buy one of everything. They'll buy a skin for their Destro because they love rocking it down at level 5 and things like that. So that's a part of the market that gets left behind with this new system. And I think it's a revenue stream that you guys are cheating yourself out of. So, I mean, the new system, you'll get revenue from people that want to drop a bunch of money to get up to the top one time, but there's no incentive to drop a little bit of money to get a temporary advantage, because you lose it almost immediately when Matchmaker puts you up against higher end competition as a reward for your success. So the older system also would have encouraged a more steady income stream, because players like myself, a couple other people on the forums, they would buy 3 or 4 of one bot just to play in a certain tier level, and have a whole nother set of bots to play at another tier level. And it keeps the game infinitely enjoyable and very diverse, and gives it a lot more depth.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Sorry if I went over. I got a little put off on my notes because everybody seems to really be on the same page with a common theme of wanting to have that hanger-based system back for the health of the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And next on our list is Mark. Oh, Pappy.
Can everybody hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. We can hear you well.
Okay. Great. I was having trouble earlier. Okay, I'm going to try to be brief because I'm hearing a lot of things that I strongly agree with. So I'll just kind of run through the things that I strongly support from other people before getting on to a couple different things. A little bit of background. I play in Champions League. Been playing for almost 3 years, and most of my gear is max. So that's sort of the perspective that I'm bringing to this. And I'm in one of the top iOS clans, but I also play about 80% of my games solo, and that's going to affect my U as well. So first of all, I 100% agree that the matchmaking should be judged mostly on your hanger strength, but with a hard cap. And by that, what I mean is, once you upgrade a weapon to a certain level, it cannot be put on a lower level robot and drop down several levels to take on robots that don't have these, lower level bots that don't have these weapons or this experience. That is the quintessential definition of seal clubbing. And one of the problems with it is that there was no common sense or rationale. There was no transparency in terms of new players coming up if they upgraded their gear. There was no warning saying if you upgrade over level 9, you're going to be playing champion level players. And if you, and if you try to put a level 12 Magnum on a Gepard, you can play low level. But if you put a level 12 Magnum on the same level Stalker, you'll play against maxed players. Right. And so the old system and even was totally created to allow people to cheat it. And so I remember about 2 years ago, I sent a note to Pixonic asking, hey, I don't understand the matchmaking and the leveling. What happens when I upgrade this? What are the cutoffs between the different levels and tiers? And I was told it's a secret. And that the reason why it was a secret was because they didn't want people to abuse it. Well, I think if you have more transparency, it takes away all ability to abuse it. There is no confusion. A new player coming up knows that, oh no, if I get my weapons above level 7, I can't play with level 1 and 2 robots anymore. So I can plan my upgrades. I can say I'm going to get all my gear slowly up, bots and weapons to level 6, and then I'll make the leap. Right, as opposed to having a bunch of level 1, 2, and 3, or if even higher, level 6, 7, and 8 robots with maxed weapons on it, and suddenly being angry because you're being thrown up against Champions League players. So I think that is something that would really help sort of ease the disparity that we see in terms of the matchmaking. Now, in terms of the way that the system works now, I 100% agree with the idea of not kicking people when they're down, metaphorically. It's bad enough as a solo player. It's bad enough that number one, you're going to be facing maxed clans, largely at my level. You're going to be playing probably with tankers, so you're going to be playing 4-on-6. Half the guys are all just trying to get damage because they're scared to death that they don't, keep their damage averages high enough. And so you lose. And you're thinking, oh, well, and I remember someone else mentioned, well, I lose. I can lose games here and there. And then it's like the kick in the teeth. Then it's like, not only do you lose, but we're also going to penalize you and take away points from you. And I think it's more of a psychological impact. At the end of the day, it's just a game. Why does it matter? But it's soul crushing. And I know myself personally, ever since the league came in, my activity level was around 1,200 to 1,400 activity points. I'm down to about maybe 300 or 400 now. And it just feels like work. It feels like, like just getting kicked while you're down and virtually impossible for a solo player to make his way out there. And, I know one of the points was solo versus clan. And it seems like everything that has been done over the past year has been to try to force people to play as clans. Now, I'm in Vox. It's a great clan. I love my clan mates. Bottom line is I'm a dad. I have a job. And I have real life responsibilities. And the situation is now I can barely play as a clanmate. And so I just feel like, in some of the comments even that Pixonic has posted talking about these loners out there, that's the vast majority of your players. And yet it's almost sounds like we're doing something wrong if we're not playing as a clan. We're the people we're the adults with jobs and money to spend on the game. So anyway, to move on, I really think that whatever happens, there has to be some clear-cut transparency. The idea that you can throw workshops on a mag or on a Gepard in the old days, and Seal Club if you put it on a stalker, and suddenly you were playing max players. There was no explanation of that. There's no rhyme. There's no reason. People are just walking around lost out there, and it makes this feeling of hopelessness sort of rise up. It's like, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. Why am I getting thrown up against max guys? Why am I in the tanker queue? What is the tanker queue? I think the more you can get rid of the fog over the game and be just honest with trust your player base to be mature and adult enough to understand what you're trying to do and to support you. One of the other things I think in terms of just overall gameplay, and I'm going to stop talking pretty soon, but I think one of the things you need to think about is sort of the idea of the direction of the way the game has gone, skill versus these sort of static plodding gold bots, and what that has also done on the gameplay experience. When you think, my perfect era for the game was actually Rogata versus Boa. That was back when every game seemed like just an intense up-close duel. The Rogata was awesome. You could jump. It was like fighting with a ninja. You were flipping over top of people and jumping down. This is just before Plasma came in. It was just so many great. I literally have memories of some of the old veterans, and just these times where either they beat me or I beat them, and it was just like I would tell my clanmates, I can't believe this battle. Now, what are the battles? 2 Galahads, or 2 Lances, or a Lance and a Galahad, or 5 Ancelots standing 299 yards apart from each other, basically just mashing their fire button over and over again, hoping to God that their shield doesn't break before the other guys. Right? I'm really excited about these dash bots and the renewed Rogata, because I'm hoping it brings back the dynamic skill, quality and factor that decides games. I played a game the other day when I'm just trying to use my Rogata. I'm on iOS. I don't have the update yet. And I thought, well, hell, I'll take it out. I literally could not defeat the Ancelot that was squatting on my beacon, because there was no way I could actually bring his shield down. And by the time I sat there like a dummy hiding behind a wall, trying to take it down, 2 more Ancelots showed up. And so you're getting rewarded for riding this waddling, gigantic, static, kind of, I hate to say it, boring robot. And it teaches you not to use the exciting ones. And I have 2 maxed Lancelots, and I have 3 maxed Galahads. So I'm not crying. I'm just saying the style of play has changed. Stand back 600 meters and fire a trident. Waddle across the into the middle and sit there with 6 different Ancelot shields, and just 4 minutes later you take them down. And then finally, the last thing I'm going to make, and I think this is one of the key things that no one has mentioned, that actually is the root cause of a lot of the problems over the past 2 years, and that is the silver and gold nerf that happened about maybe 2 years ago. I am very lucky I started when I did, because I was able to bank a lot of silver, like a couple 100 million silver, because I played like a fiend. I played all the time. I was pretty good at the game. And it set me basically for life in terms of maxing bots. I cannot even begin to imagine what it would be like to start the game now, where you can play your ass off, especially when you're young, when you're a new player. You play your butt off. You're not in a clan. You end up in a 4 versus 6 game against a bunch of maxed players, and at the end of the day, you make like 90,000 silver, right? And no gold. And so, why did Seal Clubbing come around? Because a bunch of dudes decided after the silver and the gold nerf that they were never ever going to be able to get enough stuff playing honestly, so they decided to cheat the system. That's because of the hopelessness that is created. Why are we not seeing enough guys in my level up in Champions League? Why are there not very many people there? Because people have stopped upgrading. They can't afford it. And so what does that do? That makes the matchmaker have to take us maxed guys and match us with guys level 8, 9, and 10. Because the number of players at the top dwindled down to a trickle, because nobody can afford to get there, except for seal clubbers and tankers who don't want to get there. Anyway, I'm going to leave it at that. I know that was a bit of a rant at the end. I apologize, but I really think that you would literally make more money if you gave people more silver and a little bit more gold so that they didn't have that feeling of helplessness, like I will never get to the end. So why should I bother trying? It reminds me of a movie theater constantly raising the prices of a ticket because fewer and fewer people are watching movies. Anyway, that's it for me. And I just want to say I do love the game and I do appreciate this opportunity to hear from everybody. And I'm really looking forward to hearing what everybody else has to say.